All right, well, let's get together and open up our prayer book. And Gary, would you recite the opening prayers, beginning with the altruistic motivation, and just read the English one time until we get to the short refuge prayer. Do that 3 times, and the 4 immeasurables 3 times, please. Everybody can follow along.
Okay, we're just reading the English, did you say?
Just the English one time.
And
Except for the page 5 and 6, read 3 times each. Okay?
Got it. All right. All mother sentient beings, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and omniscience, may they experience happiness, be separated from suffering, and swiftly I will establish them in the state of unsurpassed, perfect, complete, and precious Buddhahood. Action Bodhichitta Prayer. Thus, until I achieve enlightenment, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. Until death, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. From now until this time tomorrow, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. Long Refuge Prayer. We take refuge in the kind root and lineage lamas. We take refuge in the deities of the mandalas of the eons. We take refuge in all the exalted Buddhas. We take refuge in the perfect Dharma. We take refuge in the excellent order of the Sanghas. We take refuge in all the noble Dakas, Dakinis, and Dharma guardians, possessors of the eye of wisdom. Taking the Bodhisattva vow. Until I attain the heart of enlightenment, I take refuge in all the Buddhas. I take refuge in the Dharma and likewise in the assembly of the Bodhisattvas. As the previous Buddhas embraced the enlightened mind and progressed on the Bodhisattva's path, I too, for the benefit of all sentient beings, give birth to Bodhicitta and apply myself to accomplish the stages of the path. Short Refuge Prayer. In the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha most excellent, I take refuge until enlightenment is reached. By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. In the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha most excellent, I take refuge until enlightenment is reached. By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. In the Buddha, the Dharma, and Sangha most excellent, I take refuge until enlightenment is reached. By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. The 4 immeasurables. May all mother sentient beings, boundless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. May all mother sentient beings, boundless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. May all mother sentient beings, boundless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion.
Well, thank you very much. So now we'll recite Om Mani Padme Hum, the Mani mantra. We'll recite it for a meditation focus, to use the mantra as a mind protection and to develop one-pointed mindfulness and be able to calm ourselves down. We all had a busy day, busy weekend, to be able to bring things together. So by focusing on the mantra, Om Mani Padme Hum, the little translation being, behold the jewel in the lotus. So we sit in the lotus position. We visualize that our body is the jewel, and we say, behold, the jewel in the lotus, and that we become manifest. Om Mani Padme Hum, manifesting in the wisdom heart. that this jewel is manifesting in the wisdom heart. So, and this is our, this is rotating around the seed syllable, which is the Shri syllable, and the Shri syllable is the primal cause. So this is our primal cause to become the Buddha, to recognize ourselves as the Buddha, to realize our Buddha nature. So as we recite this mantra, be thinking about these things, concentrate on the syllables as much as possible. When your mind drifts, you can bring it to the thinking of, behold the jewel in the lotus, that we are a bodhisattva on the path to become a Buddha, and that we are seeking enlightenment. So we begin with the recitation. Everybody join out loud, mute your microphone so we don't feed back on each other. But it's important to do this strongly and out loud and let your body vibrate. Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. 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 Om Mani Padme Om Mani Padme Hum. 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 Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Go Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Go Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum Shri. Remain in the meditation position. Keep your back straight. Your hands together, 4 inches below the navel if you can, at your knees. And visualize that the 6 syllables, Om Mani Padme Hum, are all dissolving into light, dissolving into each other, and dissolving into the Shri syllable at the center. The Shri syllable is the primal cause of enlightenment. And the Shri syllable dissolving into your heart and becoming slowly, slowly invisible. And just rest your body, speech, and mind in the invisibility of the Shri syllable. Continue to meditate for some time. Your mind wanders, just bring it back to the visualization of the syllables dissolving into light, dissolving into the Shri, dissolving into your heart. Take a deep breath and hold it. Expand your belly. Hold the breath. Keep your back straight. Exhale. Squeeze your belly. Push out all that stale, negative, dark air out of your lungs. Hold that breath. Breathe in again. Expand your belly. Pulls open your lungs, pulling in fresh, clean, pure air. Hold the breath. Exhale. Squeeze the abdomen. Push out stale negative air and hold the breath. Watch your body posture. Keep your back straight. Breathe in. Hold it. Exhale. Hold the breath. Relax and open your eyes. Okay. Thank you. So that was 5 rounds of the mala rounds of the beads. So we did 540 recitations, chanting of Om Mani Padme Hum. So next time we can do 7 rounds. Maybe the time after that we'll do 11 rounds. Whatever you have time for. But the key is to make time to do something and to develop the confidence in being able to do this. This is the key point of being able to develop meditation is the mantra. The recitation of the mantra is the mind protection. It's the device that allows us to develop one-pointed mindfulness. It is the strongest, most powerful of all these meditative devices that we have. The mantra. So by developing this is a key to all the other practices that we may do for the rest of our lives, where they all involve a mantra at some point. Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any questions about the mantra recitation? Okay.
It was wonderful.
Thank you very much.
I had no idea it was that many mala rounds.
Yes, it just seemed like a few, didn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's great. I was doing that most of the night last night. I couldn't sleep, so till about 4 a.m. I was.
Did it help you to get back to sleep, or did you just wind up enjoying the sleeplessness?
But probably a little bit of both. I was up till about 4 a.m. So.
Wow. That's a good time to meditate, to do practice.
It is wonderful. So quiet.
Okay. So now we're going to turn to the King of Aspiration prayers, Zangcho Munlam. And we're going to recite this. And we should be able to complete our talk about the explanation of each of the verses. Does anybody have any questions or comments about this? You know, I hope that you have been taking some time to practice this alone at home, to read this out loud to yourselves and contemplate this. If you haven't been doing that, it's a wonderful practice to develop. So many things will come out of it.
Lance, is the picture on the very front Manjushri?
Samantabhadra.
Samantabhadra. Okay, thank you.
The Bodhisattva Samantabhadra.
Okay.
And you can tell by his the white globe, the sphere represents the sun at his left ear. So this is the Bodhisattva Samantabhadra. And you remember that he represents devotion, dedication. Okay, so we will recite this as we've been doing, everybody taking a turn with a page. So if we begin, we'll begin. If everybody can recite. Zara, can you recite tonight? Grant, can you recite? Soho, everybody?
No, I'm not going to be able to fight tonight. Sorry.
Okay.
Yes, I can.
Okay, good. Soho, thank you. Zara, how about you? All right. Zara's taking a break. Okay. So Soho, why don't we start with you, please, on page number 1. And then page number 2. Michael, will you recite page number 2? And then page number 3 will be, let me see. Bhavani, will you read page number 3, please? I'm trying to give everybody a chance to read pages, so I'm checking my list here and making sure that no one has done this. Let's see. Tom? No, Tom, you just did that. Lance will do page number 4. And page number 5. Tom, will you read page number 5, please? And page number 6. Let's see. Zara, are you with us yet? Okay, page number 6. William, will you recite page number 6? And then page number 7.
Yes.
Okay, page number 7. Gary, you got something to read, didn't you? No, maybe not. Okay. Gary, will you? Yeah, perfect. Gary, will you read page number 7, please?
Number 7, okay?
Yep. And then page number 8. Let's see. We're out of participants. All right. Zoho, will you recite page number 8? So you were reciting page number 1, now recite page number 8. And then page number 9, Bhavani, will you recite page number 9, please? Along with the page that you were reading before. Okay. So please read this earnestly with devotion, with understanding. So take your time. There's no need to rush. We'll try and read it so that everybody and yourself can understand the meaning of each verse. So Soho, when you are ready, please begin. Begin on page 1 by reading the title, please. And you're just reading the root text. You're just reading the black text. You're not reading the blue text, which are the section.
Oh, so I read to all the Buddha from there, right?
Yes, but begin with the title, please. Okay.
Oh, okay. Title. You mean Kings of Aspiration Prayers?
Yes, please.
Kings of Aspiration Prayer. Samatha Bhadra, Aspiration of Good Actions. The translator homepage. I don't think I read it. Sorry. To all the Buddhas, the lions of the human race, in all directions of the universe, through past and present and future. To every single one of you, I bow in homage. Devotion, fill my body, speech, and mind. Through the power of this prayer, aspiring to God action, to good action, all the victorious ones appear, vivid here before my mind. and I multiply my body as many times as atom in the universe, each one bowing in prostration to all the Buddhas. In every atom preside as many Buddhas as there are atoms, and around them all their Bodhisattva hearers. And so I imagine them filling completely the entire space of reality, saluting them with an endless ocean of prayers. With the sound of an ocean of different melodies, I sing of Buddha's noble qualities and praise all those who have gone to perfect bliss. To every Buddha I make offerings of the lovers, flowers, or beautiful garlands, of music and perfume ornaments, the best of parasol, the brightest lamps and finest incense. To every Buddha I make offerings, exquisite garments, and the most fragrant scents, powered incense, held as high as Mountain Baru, arranged in perfect symmetry. Then the vast and unsurpassable offerings, inspired by my devotion to all the Buddhas and moved by the power in my faith in good action, I protest and offer to all your victorious ones.
Negative acts I've committed while driven by desire, hatred, and ignorance with my
I think you're on
body.
page 2, Michael. You should be on page 2.
Yes. Yes, I'm on page 2.
Whatever negative acts I've committed.
Yes, that's just what I said. Whatever negative acts.
Excuse me, I didn't understand it.
Okay. Whatever negative acts I have committed while driven by desire, hatred, and ignorance with my body, my speech, and also my mind, before you I confess and purify each and every one. With a heart full of delight, I rejoice at all the merits, O Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, Prachika Buddhas, those in training and the Arhats beyond training, and every living being throughout the entire universe. You who are like beacons of light shining through the worlds, who passed through the stages of enlightenment to attain Buddhahood. Freedom from all, I exhort you, all of you protectors, turn the unsurpassable wheel of Dharma. Joining my palms together, I pray, to you who intend to pass into nirvana, remain for eons as many as the atoms in the world, and bring well-being and happiness to all beings. What little virtue I have gathered through my homage, through offering, confession, and rejoicing, through exhortation and prayer, all of it I dedicate to the enlightenment of all beings. Let offerings be made to the Buddhas of the past, and all who now dwell throughout the 10 directions of this universe. Let all who are yet to come swiftly fulfill their wishes and attain the stages of enlightenment and Buddhahood. Let as many worlds as there are in all the 10 directions transform into realms that are vast and utterly pure, filled with Buddhas who have sat before the mighty Bodhi tree, around them all their Bodhisattva sons and daughters. Let as many sentient beings as there are in all the 10 directions live always and forever in happiness and health. Let all beings meet the Dharma that befits them best, and so may all they hope for be fulfilled.
As I practice the training for enlightenment, may I recall all my previous births, and in successive lives through death and rebirth, may I always renounce the worldly life. Training in the footsteps of all the victorious Buddhas, may I bring good actions to perfection, and my moral conduct be taintless and pure, never lapsing and always free from fault. In the language of the gods, nagas, and yakshas, in the language of demons and of humans too, and however many kinds of speech there may be, I shall proclaim the Dharma in the language of all. Taming my mind and striving in the paramitas, I will never forget the Bodhichitta. May all my harmful actions and the obscurations they cause be completely purified, every single one. May I be freed from karma, harmful emotions, and the work of negativity, and to act for all beings in the world, just like the lotus flower to which mud and water cannot cling, or sun and moon that course unhindered through the sky. Throughout the reach and range of the entire universe, I shall pacify completely the suffering of all the lower realms. I shall lead all beings to happiness and work for the ultimate benefit of each and every one. I shall bring enlightened action to perfection, serve beings as to suit their needs, teach them to accomplish good actions, and to continue this throughout all the eons to come. May I always meet and be accompanied by those whose actions accord with mine, and in body, speech, and mind as well. May our actions and aspirations always be one.
I always meet spiritual friends who long to be of true help to me and who teach me the good actions. Never will I disappoint them. May I always behold the Buddhas here before my eyes, and around them all their bodhisattvas, sons and daughters, without ever tiring throughout all the eons to come. May the offerings I make them be endless and vast. May I maintain the sacred teachings of the Buddhas and cause enlightened action to appear. May I train to perfection and good actions and practice these in every age to come. As I wander through all states of samsaric existence, may I gather inexhaustible merit and wisdom, and so become an inexhaustible treasury of noble qualities, of skill and discernment, samadhi and liberation. In a single atom, may I see as many pure realms as atoms in the universe, and in each realm, Buddhas beyond all imagining, encircled by all their bodhisattva heirs. Along with them, may I perform the actions of enlightenment. And so in each direction, everywhere, even on the tip of a hair, may I see an ocean of Buddhas, all to come in past, present, and future, in an ocean of pure realms. And throughout an ocean of eons, may I enter into enlightened action, each and every one. Each single word of a Buddhist speech, that voice with its ocean of qualities, bears all the purity of the speech of all the Buddhas, sounds that harmonize with the minds of all living beings. May I always be engaged with the speech of the Buddhas.
With all the power of my mind, may I hear and realize the inexhaustible melody of the teachings spoken by all the Buddhas of past, present, and future, as they turn the wheels of Dharma. Just as the wisdom of the Buddhas penetrate all future eons, so may I too know them instantly. In each fraction of an instant, may I know all that will ever be in past, present, and future. In an instant, may I behold all those who are the lions of the human race, the Buddhas of past, present, and future. May I always be engaged in the Buddha's way of life and action through the power of liberation, where all is realized is like an illusion. On a single atom, may I actually bring about the entire array of pure realms of past, of present, and future, and then enter into those pure Buddha realms in each atom, in each and every direction. When those who illuminate the world still to come gradually attain Buddhahood, turn the wheel of Dharma, and demonstrate the final, profound peace of nirvana, may I always be in their presence. Through the power of swift miracles, the power of the vehicle like a doorway, the power of conduct that possesses all virtuous qualities, the power of loving kindness, all pervasive, the power of merit that is totally virtuous, the power of wisdom free from attachment, and the power of knowledge, skillful mean to samadhi. May I perfectly accomplish the power of enlightenment.
May I purify the power of karma, destroy the power of harmful emotions, render negativity utterly powerless, and perfect the power of good actions. I shall purify oceans of realms, liberate oceans of sentient beings, understand oceans of Dharma, realize oceans of wisdom, perfect oceans of action, fulfill oceans of aspirations, serve oceans of Buddhas, and perform these without ever growing weary through oceans of eons. All the Buddhas throughout the whole of time attained enlightenment through good actions, and their prayers and aspirations for enlightened action. May I fulfill them all completely. The eldest of the sons of the Buddhas is called Samantha Buddha. All good, so that I may act with a skill like his. I dedicate fully all these merits to purify my body, my speech, and my mind as well, to purify my actions in all realms. May I be the equal of Amitabha in his skills in good dedication, Manjushri, in order to perform the full virtue of good actions. I shall act according to Manjushri's prayers of aspiration, and without ever growing weary in all the eons to come, I shall perfectly fulfill every one of his aims.
Let my bodhisattva acts be beyond measure. Let my enlightened qualities be measureless too. Keeping to this immeasurable activity, may I accomplish all the miraculous powers of enlightenment. Sentient beings are as limitless as the boundless expanse of space. So shall my prayers of aspiration for them be as limitless as their karma and harmful emotions. Whoever hears this king of dedication prayers and yearns for supreme enlightenment, who even once arouses faith, will gain true merit greater still than by offering the victorious Buddhas infinite realms in every direction, all ornamented with jewels, or offering them all the highest joys of gods and humans for as many eons as there are atoms in those realms. Whosoever truly makes this aspiration to good actions will never again be reborn in lower realms. They will be free from harmful companions and soon behold the Buddha of boundless light. They will acquire all kinds of benefits and live in happiness. Even in this present life, all will go well. And before long, they will become just like Amitabha. All negative acts, even the 5 of immediate retribution, whatever they have committed in the grip of ignorance, will soon be completely purified if they recite this aspiration of good actions. They will possess perfect wisdom, beauty, and excellent signs, born in a good family, and with a radiant appearance, demons and heretics will never harm them, and all three worlds will honor them with offerings.
Soho, will you read page number 8 again, please?
Okay, number 8. They will quickly go beneath the Buhi tree, and there they will sit to benefit all sentient beings, then awaken into enlightenment, turn the wheel of Dharma, and tame Mara with all his balls. The full result of keeping, teaching, or reading this prayer of aspiration of good action is known to the Buddhas alone. Have no doubt supreme enlightenment will be yours. Dedication of the merit of this meritorious aspiration. Just as the Bodhichitta Manjuris attained omniscience, and Samantabhara too. All these merit now I dedicate to train and follow in their footsteps. Dedication that follows the Buddhas, as all the victorious Buddhas of past, present, and future praise dedication as supreme. So now I dedicated all these roots of virtue for all being to perfect good action. When it is time for me to die, let all that accuse me fade away. So I look at Amitabha there in person and go at once to his pure land of Suhavati. In that pure land, may I actualize every single one of all these aspirations. May I fulfill them, each and every one, and bring help to being for as long as the universe remained. Born there in a beautiful lotus flower in that excellent and joyful, joyous Buddha rhyme. May the Buddha and Taha himself grant me the prophecy foretelling my enlightenment.
Having received the prophecy there with my billions of emancipations, sent out through the power of my mind, may I bring enormous benefit to sentient beings in all the 10 directions, through whatever small virtues I have gained by reciting this aspiration of good actions. May the virtuous wishes of all beings, prayers, and aspirations all be instantly accomplished. Through the true and boundless merit attained by dedicating this aspiration of good actions, may all those now drowning in the ocean of suffering reach the supreme realm of Amitabha. May this king of aspirations bring about the supreme aim and benefit of all infinite sentient beings. May they perfect what is described in this holy prayer uttered by Samatabhadra. May the lower realms be entirely emptied. By the blessings of the Buddhas who have attained the 3 kayas and the unchanging truth of reality, as well as the unwavering aspirations of the Sangha, may all the aspirations and dedication prayers be fulfilled.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for reciting that. There is a correction that we need to make in the book. If everybody has a pencil or a pen to make this correction will be really important. And this is something that that Rebecca had pointed out several weeks ago. She had asked about, and then Tom asked about last week. And it gave me cause to go back and look at the root text and to look at the Tibetan. And I'm looking at page number 9, right at the top, where it says, having received the prophecy there with my billions of emancipations. That word should be emanations. So Tom had brought that to our attention last time, and I kind of put it aside, but it gave me cause to go back and look, and it was translated incorrectly here. That the root word, the Tibetan word there is trulpa. We would spell it as Trulpa, and trupa in Tibetan clearly means emanations. So this translation, somewhere along the line, that was translated as emancipations. And there is a similarity between the meaning of those words, but it's not the same. So here we're saying, having received the prophecy there with my billions of emanations sent out through the power of my mind, may I bring enormous benefit to sentient beings in all the 10 directions. So I think
What's the page and paragraph again?
We're on page 9 and section 5 at the very top of the page. So the word emancipation should be replaced by emanations. So I apologize for the correction. Okay. So does anybody have any comments or questions before we begin our talking about each verse? We should be able to complete this evening.
Yeah, Lance, I did have a question. What is it? The benefit of making aspiration, the first section, the benefit of making aspiration in general. I think
What page are you on?
Well, this is
Page 7.
7. Whoever hears his king of dedication prayers and yearns for supreme enlightenment, who even once arouses faith, will gain true merit, greater still than by offering the victorious Buddhas infinite pure realms in every direction, all ornamented with jewels, or offer them all the highest joys of gods and humans. For as many eons there are atoms in those realms. The section where, I guess, 1, 2, 4, 5. On the 6th line, it says, or by then offering the victorious Buddhas. When they're talking about the victorious Buddhas, which Buddhas are they specifically talking about? Or are they talking about the whole Buddha realm?
It's about all the Buddhas, all those who have become victorious, who have overcome all defilements and obscuration to wisdom, and have become liberated. And so all those Buddhas, the meditational Buddhas, those human beings who have become Buddhas, that's what they're referring to.
So when they were saying, just by hearing this King of Dedication prayers, there's more benefit than offering all these Buddhas infinite pure realms.
Well, who hears this and
yearns
for supreme enlightenment, who even once arouses faith, will gain true merit greater still. So it's that whole paragraph there that you have to take into consideration.
But that's very, very powerful. I mean, that's beyond imagining, that, you know, when you're offering all of these victorious Buddhas, these wonderful offerings, you know, all the time, and giving and ornament, you know, in all ornamented with jewels, and offering the highest joys of gods and humans for as many eons as there are atoms in those realms. that section right there, that should tell you this prayer that should be recited, daily. I guess this could be a practice in its own. I mean, if you have no other practice but just reading this King of Aspiration prayers, just once a day, twice a day, takes 20 minutes at most. And if you do it with some thought or some contemplation, it might take half an hour, 40 minutes. It's very simple practice. And by just doing that, look at the merits that you're acquiring. Tremendous. And more you read it, more you are moved. And you will develop that devotion and that arousal of faith. It's very touching, very emotional.
Yes,
Thanks
thank
very
you.
much.
So it's like comparing it to, material offerings, material things, the material world, and offering emotions, that you're offering all the highest joys of the gods and humans for as many eons there are to come, to all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. They don't need any of those things, but they don't need anything, but what they are made of is that devotion, because they are making devotion to all beings, to liberate, to help all, to be a symbol to all beings, to help liberate all beings, and so on, and that we are all Buddha. So having faith in that is more powerful than all the material offerings and all the emotional joys that one could express, that could offer. That's how great this prayer and dedication to it is. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lance, what is Tibetan Buddhism's view on like the larger Amitabha Sutra, which, if you read it literally, says you just have to say the Nimbutsu and you'll have a birth in the Pure Lands.
Well, I'm not exactly familiar with that particular prayer that you're talking about, or practice that you're talking about, but I am very familiar with several of the other Amitabha practices and prayers that we do. And what it is saying is that, number one, by knowing one Buddha, you know all the Buddhas. If you can attain a liberation, if you can attain a realization of one Buddha, you're realizing them all, because they all are of bodhicitta. Amitabha is the most accessible for us human beings to be able to recognize, to be able to realize, because the wisdom of Amitabha is the wisdom of discriminating awareness. And we're making that discriminating awareness all the time, but what we are being aware of most all the time is the lower stuff. We're not choosing the higher stuff. So the wisdom of discriminating awareness is realizing that you have a choice from the very beginning. The very simplest of this wisdom is that you have a choice, and that there may be times when you do have to pay attention. You do have to have awareness of the mundane everyday things. We have to be practical. But then there are other times that we can put those things aside and say, now I really need to develop my spirituality. And as that, Amitabha becomes like a gateway, becomes the Buddha who takes you to the other Buddha families, because there's 5 Buddha families. And so Amitabha takes you to the other Buddha families. So when we die, when we pass away, when we leave our bodies and our physical body, our intellectual body behind, it's just our spiritual body, that if we are focused, if we have one-pointed mindfulness on Amitabha, that wisdom of discriminating awareness and focusing on the spirituality, that will take us to liberation. That will take us to the Buddha field, his Buddha field of Sukhavati, or Dewa Chen, as it's said in Tibetan. It's Dewa Chen, it's Sukhavati in Sanskrit. So I hope that explains it. You know, that's the essence of Amitabha's wisdom.
I think what Grant was referencing was the practice in Pure Land, in Jodo Shinshu and in Nichiren, the assumption that the mantra that's associated with a deity or with a sutra, by chanting the mantra, the Nembutsu in Jodo Shinshu, the Nam-myoho Renge Kyo in Nichiren, that you have access to the entire sutra and you have direct access to the associated Buddha just by chanting. And I think in Vajrayana we do. I think that's sort of suggested, that especially with the more extended mantras that we chant, if we chant them repeatedly, then we have access to the larger wisdom that's associated with the sutra. Is that true?
Yes.
Good. Okay.
Yeah. So the Mantrayana, as you point out, is talking about the Pure Land, and is doing it in a very how should you say, devotional way. But in the Vajrayana, it becomes a generation that you are generating yourself as the Buddha Amitabha, and you're completing that by becoming reborn into that Buddha field, into Amitabha's Buddha field, into his Pure Land. Another way of saying that. Does
Thank
that
you.
make sense? Does that fit in what you were thinking about, Grant?
Yes, very helpful. Thank you.
Okay. And remember that all these, you know, it's all symbolic, you know, that we have to see that all this is all within ourselves. And we're opening up these closed doors, these covered up doors, to be able to reveal these wisdoms that we have within ourselves, to be able to open up our true Buddha nature, our Amitabha nature, our Ascobia nature, all these different Buddhas and so on. There are pure nature. So in Vajrayana, we say Om Ami Dewa Shri. Om is the body, speech, and mind. Ami is Amitabha, and Dewa means Dewa Chen, his Pure Land, and Shri is the primal cause. So Om Ami Dewa Shri. Behold Amitabha in the Pure Land as our primary focus, as our primary force.
Is that a chant that we can do, or is that just contextual with some particular practice?
Well, it's part of the sadhana. It's part of the practice of Amitabha, Om Ami Dewa Shri. So there's a whole thing that leads up to it, you know, just like and it requires really an empowerment. We can do it together, you know, with someone who has had the empowerment and is leading that, and you can recite the mantra, but to know the meaning and everything, you need to receive the empowerment, you need to receive the transmission and the instructions from the Lama is the proper way to do it. So, yes. So thank you for the question. Is there anything else? Anybody else have a point, a comment? Okay. So, you know, just going back again, just to put this into a context, you know, what we've been learning about is all the basic academics of what it is to be a human being and how to liberate from those emotions and blockages, obscurations, and so on that we've created for ourselves. And by doing that, then we see our Buddha nature. And then we see our Buddha nature as these different Buddhas engaging in different activities, enlightened activities. So again, we see our Buddha nature as like this diamond that is at our heart center. And the diamond is made up of bodhicitta. That's what it's made of, bodhicitta, loving kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity. But with each of these facets on the diamond, then they represent the different Buddhas who are actualizing that bodhicitta. So we begin to see ourselves as that. So we begin to see ourselves as Amitabha. We begin to see ourselves as Ascobia, as Medicine Buddha, as Tara, all the different Buddhas, and all the different bodhisattvas as well, the great bodhisattvas. So, so what we're doing, we're laying this groundwork to be able to understand what it is to be a human being so that we can liberate it. And we do that through these practices, through these deity yoga practices of becoming these Buddhas. So that's the next step. And that has to be done really with the Lama. We can do practices, I can lead practices and so on, but the real empowerment comes from the Lamas. And so that's the next step. In these past 2 years almost now, we haven't had that ability because everything's been on Zoom, and the empowerment should be done in person. So hopefully when things get back to normal and we can get back together in the shrine room, that if people come, meet the Lamas and ask them, request them for these empowerments. In the old school, you got to ask for what you want. They just don't give it to you. In the West, we kind of make accommodations, but so by asking and making relationship with the Lama, then they will be very happy to be able to give it to those who have requested it and so on.
This prayer, the King of Aspiration prayers, is the last chapter, the Avatamsaka Sutra. The sutra was not discovered until 500 years after Buddha had passed. He had given the sutra, the teachings, but he figured that people weren't ready for it. So basically it was, hidden and then rediscovered or discovered when, thought people are ready to hear it 500 years later. And,
But how was it discovered? I mean,
it was uncovered basically. Or that's they thought that we were ready to hear these teachings. Because if you look at the Avatamsaka Sutra, the first chapter, 2 chapters, 3, the whole first section is about Vairochana. And it's, when Buddha Sakimuni was given these teachings, I guess a lot of people weren't ready to hear these things. So, but yeah, it's amazing. If you ever get a chance, really, I've just basically grazed through Amitabha's Avatamsaka Sutra, but it's wonderful. Especially if you have someone that's read it and understand to give a teaching on it. Wow, wonderful. Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, so we have our careers before us. Our work is cut out. Okay, Grant is making a statement here. I can't read exactly what it says. Do you want to comment on that, Grant?
No, I was just replying to Michael's.
Okay.
statement.
All right. All right, very
So
fine.
I do have a question though. I mean, why do the Mahayana Sutras really have to be written by Sakimuni Buddha? That really doesn't resonate with me. That resonates with me about as much as, Moses writing the Old Testament books. I mean, why does it have to be Sakimuni Buddha? What if some other enlightened person wrote them? Or what does it matter if these sutras bring people to enlightenment? I mean, who cares who wrote it? Because, this 500 years later, they get found by someone. I mean, that just, that just smells of myth to me. It has no historical, scientific basis whatsoever.
Well, I think the way it goes is that this was taught by the Buddha Shakyamuni, 2,600 years ago. It was taught by him, and it was taught in the Sanskrit language. And the Sanskrit language at that time was not a written language. It was all oral tradition. So he was teaching this over and over and over again. And he was traveling for 50 years, going over these different teachings and so on like that. And he had his disciples who were with him, this time. And there were many, many disciples who were coming and going, but there was a core of disciples who were with him during this whole time. These people were very, very intelligent people, and they literally memorized his teachings. And then after he passed, it was several hundred years where the oral tradition carried on, because there still was not a written language. There still was not written Sanskrit language. So it was passed down orally from one teacher to another. And then so who was a disciple then became a teacher, and then who had disciples who then became teachers, and so on like that. And it wasn't until a couple of hundred years after the Buddha passed that they had the councils, the first of the Buddhist councils. And I'm not an expert on this by any means, but they had and they began to discuss among them the way that they remembered those teachings. And by that time, then they had the Pali language, and they were able to write this down in the Pali language, not in the Sanskrit language. The Sanskrit language still had not been devised with a written vocabulary and so on. So it was so then, and each then there were several councils, and they would come together and they would talk about the different prayers, and they came to agreements as to how they should be worded and so on, and carried on. And then from then they've been translated into other languages and so on. So if your thought is, does it open itself up to being compromised in some way or another? Sure, it does. Absolutely, I think so.
My question is, why does it matter? Who cares if it was written by the historical Buddha?
Well, I think it's important to have a structure to understand where it comes from, that there is an authenticity about it, and that there is and that it's the Dharma teachings, and that we want to know that they come from the Buddha. Now, not all the sutras are the literal words of the Buddhas, because there are some sutra teachings that come from some of his disciples who they themselves attained enlightenment. So some of the sutras are from other masters who came after the Buddha and so on. But and this, I guess, is a question of faith. Faith comes into this, And I think the point of, what the Buddha had said, and everybody can comment on this, Tom or Michael or anybody wants to comment on this, is that as the Buddha said, look, don't take my words of Dharma, what I'm telling you, to be the truth without you proving it yourself. In other words, don't take my words for granted. You have to prove this. You have to recognize this yourself. And that's the invitation for us all. So our faith leads us in that direction. But when does the faith become a gnosis? Are you familiar with the word gnosis?
I mean, somewhat.
Well,
But my
gnosis,
question is,
gnosis is a Greek word that means to know, but to know in a personal way, to have you become the embodiment of that wisdom. You become the embodiment of that experience. So does anybody else want to offer an explanation for this? What they think about faith, what they think about the Dharma and the Sutras?
I mean, personally, the faith and devotion has to come into factor when you're doing practice. Without it, they're just words on a piece of paper. You just chant. You can chant away all you want, and it's like trying to hit the air with your hands. It's yes, you can you can develop devotion through study, through contemplation, through practice. But once you start meditating and experiencing and realizing, that's when that faith and that devotion really starts manifesting within yourself. You really start searching, because you can try to intellectualize all this, you can read it over again, read it again, read a wall full of books. But until you experience and realize these things through meditation, through contemplation, through practice, it's just another philosophy you're reading. It's like reading Nietzsche. But
so I think if one of the questions, the way Grant has phrased this, is it, do we have doubt? Is this, how do we dispel doubt? The authenticity of this, and so on. And I think that's, we have to be able to examine that, and we have to be able to experience it. We have to open ourselves up to be the Buddha, to be Jesus, to be Moses, to be whatever great leader there has been who has led mankind into a particular direction. We have to allow ourselves to experience that. And then we can make a judgment based on that, not just on, the empirical or the intellectual evaluation of what we think that means. So what do you think of that, Grant? Or maybe Ed was going to say something.
Well, Ed is completely in over his head here, but I'm hearing in Grant's question, and I may be hearing wrong, if it's if something is recognized as truth, if it rings as truth, can it stand on its own merits? And if it turns out that some other Buddha came up with this, does that really matter? Grant, am I hearing?
No, that's sort of the essence of what I'm asking.
Yeah, that's so.
Which is what I believe too.
Yeah.
I mean, there's been lots of Buddhas since the Sakimuni. We all have Buddha nature. If it's rings as true and it brings people to enlightenment, then why does it matter?
Well, at what point does it become some kind of anarchy? at what point does it begin to break down that anybody can declare themselves as a Buddha, which they can, anybody can say, oh, I'm the Buddha and so on. But what is the test of time? What is the experience that would prove them to be Buddha or not to be Buddha, what we would call Buddha?
Is it not true that there haven't been any Buddhists since Buddha?
Oh no, there's been many, many, many.
Since Buddha?
Oh, of course, yeah. Jigten Sumgun, Milarepa, Nagarjuna, Atisha, many, and today, I mean, Garchen Rinpoche is considered to be a living Buddha.
What sets them off from somebody who's just gone to school and learned all this stuff?
Well, you got to be with them, and you got to experience that to really, taking my word for it or anybody else's word for it, is going to be is not going to be conclusive. You have to put yourself in that place.
So, well, if I don't go over and talk to these gentlemen and listen to them, what would make me think that they are the Buddha?
From their very essence of being with them, it has to be experienced. Enlightenment has to be experienced. There's bodhicitta. You saw the film, if you weren't, moved by some degree when you saw the film For the Benefit of All Beings, and it's the documentation of Garchen Rinpoche. I mean, then the next thing would be to personally meet Garchen Rinpoche. Well, Garchen Rinpoche doesn't, we can use the term, he doesn't have a bad bone in his body and doesn't think a bad thing about anybody. So anyway, so this is a very good question, Grant. It is a very good question, and a question that each of us has to answer for ourselves, because ultimately we want to recognize ourselves as Buddha and know that there is something within us that is Buddha. But what is it that is not Buddha that we continually hang on, that our ego is constantly defending and creating this persona out of, what is that? And how is that blocking up Buddha? And so having to deal with this, I mean, these are, the very questions that as a spiritualist we need to deal with. Anybody else have a point of view on that? What do you think, Grant?
I mean, I think I've already told you what I think.
Yeah.
All right, well, then that's fine. So if your point is then that there's other beings who are Buddhas who have made great teachings, yeah. If that's the point, the answer is yes.
Point.
But if truth is truth, regardless of who proclaims it, then how does it matter who proclaims it?
Well, that may be true. That may be true. You could look at it that way.
One of the last statements Sakimuni Buddha made before he passed into Parinirvana was like, I haven't said a thing, not a single word. I haven't given a single teaching. Just investigate for yourself. Because you and I have the same nature. So for those 50 years, 45 years that he went all around India giving teachings. And the very last thing, one of the very last things he said is, I didn't give any teachings. Haven't said anything. Don't take my word for it.
So you have to find it with your own experience.
Sure, you are Buddha, Ed.
Yeah. But if I have to find it with my own experience, I don't know. Well,
It's just covered up. You just gotta dust
Yeah.
it off. Mhm.
I'm resonating with Grant here. I think he's raised something that I don't know if I find troubling or if I'm just not mature
it's-
enough to grasp it.
It's a very good question, and it's part of the philosophy of human beings, to be able to understand what the meaning of life is, or whatever. All these things are philosophic questions and so on. So if the essence of the question is, did it come from this one Buddha, or it came from a bunch of Buddhas, or whatever, what difference does it make? So if that's your point, it's true. But to be able to make it to something that we can communicate between ourselves, with ourselves, it needs to be organized.
Enlightenment can only be experienced by you. It can't be, I can't look at you and say that maybe see that you're enlightened unless I follow you.
Right?
That's pretty close to what it is.
Well, more or less, you can you can have faith in somebody, but I guess it's similar in the church, in the Catholic Church, or maybe other churches, they won't make somebody a saint until after they're long gone, to make sure that they haven't given sainthood to somebody who had a skeleton, so to speak, in his closet, right? So, you're only as good as, your word, but when you can't speak anymore, then now we've got a body of work to look at. We can see what they've been and what they've become, and how they left, and so on.
Well,
Excuse me 1 second. It's another convention. I mean, all this is just another convention that we create for ourselves to be able to organize ourselves in our thoughts and our practices, our actions, and so on. So Ed has said, what is, that we all want to know the truth. But what is the truth? Now we've been introduced in these past 5 years that there's an alternative truth for everything. So,
But the Buddha's saying, Thomas, right? Find it for yourself.
right.
Right. Okay.
Right.
Don't take it from me or anybody else. Find
Correct.
it.
Oh no, yeah.
And
I don't know.
all the Buddhist teachers will adhere to that and teach that.
Just don't take my word for it. Mhm.
And that's why practice is so important. Here we're going through the academics, but then the practice is now setting about to experience all these different things. See it for yourself. So I think it's good to have doubt, or at least, but doubt that is not challenged, doubt that is not tested, I think is not healthy. We
Right.
just become cynical or something like that.
Well, there's the I think I mentioned this before, but the Jewish guy who wrote Why Do Bad Things Happen to Good People, I can't think of his name right now, but he wrote another book called something like, more recently, called 9 Essentials of What I've Learned, and one of them is you're obligated to doubt.
You're obligated to what?
Obligated to doubt.
You're obligated to doubt.
Because that's, if you don't doubt somewhere, sometime, you're not engaged. Doubt is evidence of engagement.
I agree with that.
Yeah. Hi, Zora.
Hi, I didn't realize my video was off. I was just sitting here listening to you all. It's a good conversation.
So, to me, it's, a question like what Grant asked, and I'm not being, disparaging by any means, but it's like somebody being outside the house and saying, oh, I know what's inside the house, but I've never been in there. But I don't believe what the house is doing is correct. Or that there's a whole community of houses. There's a whole community of houses that are made in the same way, and that the interiors are all the same. And they don't have to all be, they don't, or maybe they're different. They don't have to be the same, but the essence is the same. I'm trying to find a good analogy here to be able to say that they're, that we need to be able to experience the inside to be able to recognize it.
Some Christian theologians said Jesus Christ is a window into the nature of ultimate reality. Could we take Jesus Christ out and put Buddha in there?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And to me, Buddha is a gateway, is a gateway into the other dimensions that we can't even perceive, but sometimes we interact with and don't even understand it. We don't recognize it. And Jesus is the same. Jesus said, I am the way. I am convinced. I'm a Christian. No question. Jesus saved my butt. He is my savior. No question about it.
Your personal butt.
My personal butt.
Okay. Are you a Christian now?
Yeah, I'm a Christian now. I can be a Christian. I can be a Jew. I can be a Hindu. I can be a Buddhist. I can be all these things because they're all the same. It's all the same. It's just a matter of the concepts of the words and so on. But the essence of what they're communicating, I'm convinced. I know.
Right, right.
Lance, I was with my brother. He actually lives in the Fairfax area. Yesterday, we were in Damascus, Virginia, doing like a bike ride with my nephew. And he does this thing on Sunday, like a religious thing. He's Muslim. He's a practicing Muslim. And he said something to me that was interesting. He said, we were talking a little bit about spirituality, and he said, most Muslims, he's talking from his perspective as a Muslim. He goes, most Muslims cannot handle like a real conversation about the fact that, and he describes God, like that's his term, but he says that we are all the same energy from God. Like we are all interconnected. And he goes, you can't get, like most people can't handle that. That's like a deep dive conversation. And like he couldn't have that conversation.
I mean, whether you're a Muslim or not, or just for the Muslims?
No, for everyone. Like he said, everyone, he goes, the same energy that's in you is the same energy as in me. And I had a profound moment where I looked at him and I said, you're getting it. Like you understand something, but you're using it through the conventional structure of Islam. But I was impressed. I didn't like point it out immediately and said, oh, I know what you're talking about. But it was nice to hear him because he goes, I can't really talk like this with just any Muslim because they're going to be like, oh, like, what are you talking about? Like, they're going to question that and just say, wait, that type of discussion doesn't make sense to me. But it was random. We're talking about this because he brought that up yesterday, just casually. And I was like, I was like, yeah, we are all interconnected and we all are in the same energy. Because once you understand that it's like the same energy, he describes it as God, then you realize every single one of us is connected, our energy. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. So I find this conversation really like deep, and I'm digesting what everyone is saying. Because I think it's
You find the same thing, the same phenomena, if that's a word I should use, and in many religious communities. There's a sense, sometimes you run up against a sense of dogmatism, where they just can't have that discussion. It frightens the foundations of their beliefs. I certainly find that in the part of the country that I came from with some of my relatives, I can't really discuss what I'm doing with them and have, because there's this orientation towards, the fires of eternal perdition, swallowing me up, and
right.
And it's by the way, it was Rabbi Harold Kushner who wrote.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
But the core beliefs, you can look. And a year or so ago, I was looking in the Tanakh, the Hebrew scriptures, the Old Testament, and reading in the book of Isaiah, and I found a lot of the same things you would find in the New Testament or in the literature and wisdom of Buddhism. You can find something in the book of Isaiah, just like Jesus said, the kingdom of God is within you. And Buddha said the same thing, in other words, like if you're saying that we're all Buddhists.
Mm.
And I think in Islam it's the same thing.
Yes.
It is. It's exactly the same. Everyone is a
And
Muslim.
In
Yes.
Hindu, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
In Tao Te Ching, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
No,
You
I have a friend who's a Muslim who comes over here, Muhammad, Michael Galvin, in case you remember him, but comes over here every couple of years. And he's one of the most ethical people I know. And every time he does something generous or good, which he does a lot of, I tell him what a good Christian he is. And he loves it.
That's
He
amazing.
loves it.
See, that's a mark of a real spiritualist, I think. Someone who can see beyond their own religion.
He loves it. I mean, nobody has a monopoly on an ethical system or
That's right. That's
or
right.
ultimate truth. Yeah.
That's right.
After I converted to Judaism a long time ago, on my path, I had many Muslim friends when I was in graduate school, and I was having a discussion with one of them. He said, we're really the same. I said, well, we're brothers. You're Ishmael and I'm Isaac.
Mm-hmm.
Brothers. We just quarrel like brothers from time to time. And sometimes, especially in the past few decades, it's been very tragic, and it still is. And so pointless.
So
Really?
pointless.
I love this conversation. Very, very thought provoking.
What are we
All right,
going to do
Grant.
with those thoughts?
What's that?
What are we going to do with these thoughts?
That's up to you, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I was afraid of.
So Grant, you started this ball rolling, how's it landing now? What do you think of this?
Land the
Wrap it up,
plane.
Grant.
Land the plane.
We've taken some segues.
Say again.
I said we've segued a couple times, I think.
Okay.
Okay, well, we'll put it back on track then.
I personally believe there is this universality of all religions, but I feel like the majority of practicers of the religions would highly disagree with that. And,
True.
so,
I mean, it looks like we all sort of agree, but I think we're in we're a very small majority of believers in each religion.
Okay, so what does that mean to you?
Because that the majority doesn't believe that, I guess that's probably why I don't embrace all of these religions to the same extent that I guess you do.
Okay.
So you
How do
can
you
look.
define, well, let's get, how do you define religion?
How do I don't know, this organized belief system. I don't know.
I think if you look it up in the dictionary, I think you'll find that it'll say it's man's relationship with a supreme being.
So Buddhism is not a religion.
Correct.
Okay, but see, I don't buy that because I think Jainism.
You don't
and
buy what? You
Buddhism-
don't buy, wait a minute, you don't buy what?
that Buddhism isn't a religion. I think it's one of the great religions.
It's not, it is not organized as a religion. There are some people who practice it as a religion, no question about that. But the essence of Buddhism is strictly a philosophy of the self and of being able to liberate the self.
Okay, so what if it's not a religion, then how could it have this commonality with these other religions? You've sort of lost me.
Well, and that's the point, is that the Buddhism does not profess a divine being. Buddha was not ever considered himself to be divine, nor anyone else's as being uniquely divine. It's not a question of that. There's, in Buddhism, it goes through great lengths to be able to demystify anything that is considered to be mystical.
Lance, for me, it's like helpful to kind of see it at like the idea of karma as like, because of the type of work I do where it's environmental cause and effect. Michael and I have talked about this privately, but karma makes sense to me because it means that I have some level of accountability for spiritual cause and effect. Whereas in certain religious systems, you're sort of just, depending on how you look at it, you're like, this is just it, right? But I think that's the beauty in this paradigm or philosophy and approach is you can look at it from a different lens and see that there you have control, you have choices you can make. And that I think sometimes that's missing in other situations, like where it's like, this is happening to you. But I can change that if I look at it through a karmic lens. That's how it's helped me, because I've got to deal with my mom and dad are Christian and Muslim, and I get lectured all the time about being Buddhist. They're like the happy Buddha and the family. And I just, whatever. I'm just like, I smile and I'm like, we're all happy. Here I am. But I kind of understand the confusion that Grant's talking about, because when I talk to my parents, my dad's like, you're practicing a religion I don't agree with. Like those are his semantics and conversation. So I think, Grant, to your point, like I understand that, like you really have to be microscopic about how you analyze the small discrepancies or I guess variables. Everyone in my family thinks Buddhism is a religion.
Okay. Well, the Buddhists do not consider themselves to be religionists.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
I'd like
understand.
to ask Michael and I'd like to ask Thomas to comment, because they've been quiet on this topic so far, and they always have something wise to say. So I'd like to hear their comments. Michael?
I think the constellation of belief sets as they reside in humans gets all screwed up once stratification occurs. And stratification is, I mean, it's human. It's there's always power and privilege, and the powerless or the less powered and the less privileged. Whether that privilege is in lifestyle or knowledge. But you know, I think some of the most heinous organizations are those that hide the truth from their public, and they do so publicly, and that's how they bank. You know, that's how they roll. It's like, we've got the secrets and you don't, so you better keep dropping money in my tray because I'm in between you and the big guy. And so I like being a Buddhist because it's a level playing field. Now, when you get on the fields, you know, some people throw the ball better and some people run better and some people kick better and some people just sleep better. But it's all part of the same dance. And, you know, all players are welcome. And the game doesn't have that many rules. In most faith systems, there are a lot of rules. There's a lot to live up to, and you have to be a certain kind of person with a certain kind of behavior, professing a certain kind of truth in order to get that sense of belonging. And really, you know, power, absolute power kills. And you know, when power and privilege come into a complex organization, then there's always some people that get trampled on, and there's always going to be an elite. And that sort of spectrum of privilege doesn't really belong in a faith organization or in a space where we're all trying to explore, you know, as unique individuals, you know, 1 in a billion. We have our own paths, and I find that in Buddhism, I'm welcome to be that 1 in a billion, and I'm welcome to stumble around on my own path. Nobody's telling me I'm doing the wrong thing. And even in an organization where traditionally there have been a lot of secrets, and that was sort of a big deal, this sort of secret mantra thing, and the idea that you can't really show the masses certain things because they're not going to get it, they're not going to understand, and it might even damage their progress. But even now, I can see that in Vajrayana that it's opening wide up. There's a lot of transparency when I don't think there was until the last 20 or 30 years. And as you said, you know, that started happening when the Lamas started coming into the West. When the diaspora began, there was an equalizing effect, and then, you know, everybody could be a Lama. So I really appreciate that, and that's all I'll say on the matter.
Thomas, you got anything? Thank you very much, Michael. Thomas, you have anything to add to this conversation?
I have no comment.
Okay. Bhavani, how about you? You haven't made any comment about this, and I know that you are a spiritualist of the highest order.
Well, I don't know about that, Lance, but I believe in the philosophy of truth is one, paths are many. And there's all different paths that people can take for as many people as there are that can take them to a higher level of understanding and a better way of living. And I find that the teachings of the Buddha that we study resonate with me, and the chants and the prayers. Now, if I have to go to fill in a questionnaire and they ask religion, I will put down Buddhism, even though I know that Buddhism isn't called a religion, but I don't have any other name to call it. I don't have a spiritual name for, you know, they want to put it in a box and a label.
Okay. Well, very good. Well, thank you all for expressing yourselves on this topic, and it's an important topic. And I think, you know, that as we have the potential to all be the awakened one, to be the awakened one. So, and that's the definition, that's the Sanskrit definition of the word Buddha, the awakened one. And as such, as we awaken, we have our own field, our own awakened field, what we think this is. And all the things that support us in our thinking that, and our being that, and behaving in that, and so on, our conduct, and so on. And so we have that freedom, you know, but we compound the freedom with all these other things that we disguise as being freedom. And so this, going back to now what we're focused on here, is the King of Prayers is the framework of what our good actions can be. You can decide whether it should be or whether it could be, but it's something that it can be if we can use this as a guide. And it's very open, I think, and hits a lot of the points that we use to evaluate our freedom, our liberation, what it is, why it is, and how it is that we attain it and maintain it. And that's why this is important. And that's why maybe, you know, some of us at least think that Buddhism is very useful, because it's very articulate and being able to define our path.
Lance, I was going to say one more thing just to offer this out, because I've religion is so fascinating to me. I think Buddhism offers, true to its nature, it's simple. Fundamentally, to me, it's simple in that, I mean, there's other, you can make it complex, but it's fundamentally very simple. If you can absorb it and digest it, it's very simple. And that to me draws me in, and I'm following that journey for myself.
Agreed. All right, so Grant, you can have the last word. What do you think about what we're talking about here?
I think it's been a, excuse me, I think it's been a good conversation. That's the last word.
Okay, great. All right. Well, we didn't get to finish the the text. We'll do it next week, which works out as well, you know, because that's the 8th session in our cycle. And so we'll finish up next week for sure. And then maybe the week after that, we'll have to decide. We'll look at the calendar, and we're going to start a new cycle of Buddhism 101. And I'm going to do something I haven't done before, and that is I'm going to write a syllabus. I'm going to make a list of things that we are going to cover, stuff that we have already covered. It's not going to be anything new, but it's just going to be a list, so you can see what we've seen and go back and be able to say, okay, well, this is what I need to dust off and fix up and so on like that. So I hope that'll be useful to everybody.
Yes, yes, yes. I'm saying yes for everybody.
All right, good. Good answer. All right, so Gary, you are the umze for this evening. Thank everybody for staying late and engaging in this conversation, which I think was wonderful. So Gary, if you will do the short prayers beginning on page 20, 21, and 22, please.
By the virtues collected in the three times by myself and all beings in samsara and nirvana, and by the innate root of virtue, may I and all sentient beings quickly attain unsurpassed, perfect, complete, and precious enlightenment. May the teachings of the great Drikumpa Ratna Shri, who is omniscient Lord of the Dharma, master of interdependence, continue and increase through study, practice, contemplation, and meditation until the end of samsara. Glorious, holy, venerable, precious, kind root and lineage lamas, divine assembly of Idams and assemblies of Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, Yogins, Yoginis, and Dakinis, dwelling in the 10 directions, please hear my prayer. May the virtues collected in the three times by myself and all sentient beings in samsara and nirvana and the innate root of virtue not result in the 8 worldly concerns, the 4 causes of samsara, or rebirth as a Sravaka or Pratyeka Buddha. May all mother sentient beings, especially those enemies who hate me and mine, obstructors who harm, misleading Maras and the hordes of demons, experience happiness, be separated from suffering, and quickly attain unsurpassed, perfect, complete, and precious Buddhahood. By the power of this vast root of virtue, may I benefit all beings through my body, speech, and mind. May the afflictions of desire, hatred, ignorance, arrogance, and jealousy not arise in my mind. May attachment to fame, reputation, honor, wealth, and concern for this life not arise for even a moment. May my mind stream be moistened by loving kindness, compassion, and bodhicitta. And through that, may I become a spiritual master with good qualities, equal to the infinity of space. May I gain the supreme attainment of Mahamudra in this very life. May the torment of suffering not arise even at the time of my death. May I not die with negative thoughts. May I not die confused by wrong view. May I not experience an untimely death. May I die joyfully and happily in the great luminosity of the mind as such and the pervading clarity of Dharmata. May I, in any case, gain the supreme attainment of Mahamudra at the time of death or in the bardo. Om, Ah, Hom. Om, Ah, Hom. May my body, speech, mind become inseparable from the body, speech, and mind of enlightenment.
For the benefit of all beings. Thank you all
Thank you,
very, very
Lance.
much. You're welcome.
Thank you, Senga.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lance.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you. Good
Bye.
night.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.